For as long as I can remember, there's always been the age-old debate of, are we alone in the universe, and is there some sort of governing power? Peace and love, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Sheldon, and I help raise the vibrational frequency of this planet by really helping people ascend their consciousness. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you guys my opinion on, one, are we alone in the universe? And two, is there some sort of governing power that, orchestrated everything that we see and experience on a daily basis? Now, I'm going to give you guys everything based on my experiences and the research I have done, and really what I experience on a day-to-day basis, and really what's happened to me along my path and my journey. So, for a long time I was always interested in going out and doing my own research, not believing everything I was told. So we were really led to believe that you're essentially insignificant, that this came from a big bang, and just pay your bills and then die, essentially. So I never really quite got that. I always looked at the world and the universe like it was way too magical just to explode out of nothing and come from nowhere, essentially. So I decided to take it upon myself to do my own research. Before I literally looked inside of myself, I decided to go out and do my own research and draw my own conclusions on what I thought all this came from, because I was always interested. I always asked that question, like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Why is all this happening? There has to be some sort of higher meaning to all this than what we're led to believe. So that was always my thought process before I started going out and doing my own research and drawing my own conclusions. As I started researching, I started seeing a lot of clues that ancient societies were leaving, and that you could see on a day-to-day basis. For example, the Fibonacci sequence. Now, this is a sequence that's relevant in all of nature, and I would highly suggest you guys to go and research it. You could find this essentially everywhere in nature, whether it's plants, animals, structures like the pyramids. They were all built in essentially the same sequence. Like, the universe runs off mathematics. Nikola Tesla found out that the numbers 3, 6, and 9 literally govern the universe. If you can find out the secrets of 3, 6, and 9, you will know the universe. And that's truth. So I highly suggest you guys look up things like the golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence, and 3, 6, 9 mathematics, Nikola Tesla. This shows you that there is some sort of fingerprint, a marking of a creator, some sort of higher intelligence that's been governing, our entire universe. If you go out and you look at how divine and beautiful and how everything works in perfect harmony and how nature just works perfectly. It doesn't slow down, it knows exactly what its job is, and it does it perfectly every single time, without hesitation. It does it absolutely perfectly. How they need the bee to pollinate, and it's just so beautiful, everything. Right? Everything is so synchronized and working together, and as you can see, like it's beautiful, because if you look at it and you look at it from the perspective like, hold on, like there has to be some sort of higher power here. You start seeing these clues everywhere. As above, so below. As within, so without. So what I also think is, we're not meant to worship any sort of, higher power like a lot of religions have taught us. Where religion has gone wrong is it's essentially told you to put your faith in an external source. My belief system and what I've experienced over the years is that when you look within, you connect. And this was known for a very, very long time with all ancient, cultures and societies, religions, whatever you want to call them. These societies that were far more advanced than we were, that could do things that we couldn't even come close to replicating nowadays. And they were this way and they were this advanced because they were able to connect to a higher power. They had higher knowledge because they were able to look inside. So what religion has done is actually controlled society by telling you to have faith in an external source, to pray to an external God. God may be external, but the way you connect is internal, because consciousness runs through everything. It runs through me, you, plants, animals, rock, water. Consciousness is everything. So singularity, the single point of consciousness, is within you. We are all the same consciousness, which means we are all the same. We are all one. And how you connect to that single point of consciousness is within. So once you look within, you actually connect to what is. And that's when you start finding out the secrets of the universe. That's when you start realizing that there is a higher power here, and that we do have purpose, and that there is meaning, and that there's no possible way that we could be alone in the universe, because the universe is infinite. You know, I always say, like, you're a temporary spiritual being, or you're a temporary human being having an infinite spiritual experience. And it goes on and on and on and on. Once you start realizing this truth, then you can start living life to the fullest and stop worrying about little things that don't serve you. You can start letting go and not being as serious and having more fun, because life is infinite. You know, religion told you that this is your only life. Christianity told you this is your only life. You have this life to do good or bad, and you know, if you do bad, you get tossed into the abyss. So like this 15-year-old child that didn't have a chance to live, he unfortunately died of whatever it was. You know, if he didn't do as much good in his life, he gets tossed in the abyss. Like the whole religion aspect for me is complete garbage, and it's only because it was controlled, and it was controlled by the sick people that control the society. If something's in front of your face, it's in front of your face for a reason. The reason why people don't hear this knowledge or wisdom, a lot of people haven't heard about the Fibonacci sequence, about the golden ratio, you know, about 369 mathematics. That's because that information was suppressed and buried, because they don't want you to realize how powerful you are. But once you start realizing this truth, you start seeing these signs everywhere. And you start seeing the connection, and there is no separation. Right? So there's a lot of good teachings in the Bible, but I believe it's been manipulated for a long time through mankind, through these elite people. Same with the religion. And that goes for a lot of religions. So like, I mean, the story of Jesus is essentially the same as, like, you got Buddha, you got Krishna, and you know, they would say that they were God in flesh, but that's every one of us. We're all God in flesh, every single one of us. He was connected to a higher power. He was able to access his inner energy, move his kundalini up his spine. And he was able to do things because he was all powerful. That's how you connect to your power, right? So I really do believe that there is a higher power governing everything in the universe and all of us. And the way to connect to it is just to look inward. But if we keep externalizing our faith and putting our faith in something else besides us, we're always going to be lost. You need to see yourself in everything. Once you start seeing yourself in everything, life becomes a journey, and it just becomes beautiful. You don't do wrong for anyone else. You want to help everyone as much as you can. Spread peace and love. And you just keep getting it back. And those are the specific laws of the universe. The law of vibration. Everything is vibrating. The camera that I'm looking at right now is vibrating at a certain frequency. I am vibrating at a certain frequency. That's what creates the illusion of separation. Because certain things and certain people vibrate at different frequencies. It's like, how could I be that person? That person's not even close to like me. They're just having a different experience. But they're the same consciousness. Everything vibrates and moves. Everything. It's been proven. As above, so below. These laws literally govern the universe. The law of attraction. You get what you give. The law of exchange. You know? It's not just the laws that the government makes up that governs us. The laws of the universe, the very specific laws. The spiral of life. You can find the spiral everywhere. That's why ancient societies and cultures always use the spiral. Like, go out and research it. The hurricane, when water goes down your drain, seahorses' tails. It goes on and on and on and on and on, all throughout nature. The spiral of life, the fingerprint of a creator. So once you start realizing this truth, you start taking back your infinite power, and you start connected, and you know how to connect to that infinite power. And that's when you start living life to the fullest. And that's when you become extremely happy. You start gaining those true riches in life like I was talking about yesterday. But first we need to realize that God is within us. And the higher power is within us, consciousness within us, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. It's one energy. It's one source. And you have the ability to connect to it at any time and ask it for help. Ask and you shall receive. And that's how beautiful it is. So again, I encourage you guys just to go out and do your own research and draw your own conclusions, but you're going to start seeing the same things that I've seen. And once you start looking inside, you're going to start feeling this infinite energy and infinite power that is way bigger than what you thought you were. And that's where the journey starts. That's where it begins. Because as soon as you get that, you literally step into a new life. And as soon as I stepped into a new life, it became just blissful and beautiful for me. And I never want this journey to end. And that's the whole point. And that's my experience. Once again, that's just my opinion. That's based on, things that have happened in my life over my journey and the research that I've done. But once again, I encourage you guys, if you're looking for a deeper meaning of life, go out and do your own research. And also look inside of yourself. Like, don't be scared to look inside of yourself and ask yourself for answers. Ask the tough questions. Isolate yourself in darkness. There's a reason why, like, monks, shamans, priests, all of them, they went into caves back in ancient days for days at a time. They isolated themselves in darkness. They say essentially that if you stare at the darkness long enough or stare at the abyss long enough, eventually the abyss will stare back at you. And that is the truth. All creation comes from the abyss. So when you look inside and you go into essentially nothingness, that's when you receive all the wisdom and all the answers. And that's when your journey begins. So once again, I highly encourage you guys to go out and do your research and draw your own conclusions and see what resonates with you. And don't ever be afraid to look inside, because once you start doing these things, this is when life literally starts unfolding for you in magical ways. And you start realizing that you're way more powerful than you're led to believe. And you start believing that there is a higher power. And it is the most profound, magical, beautiful feeling in the entire world. And everyone should be able to experience it. And it is your God-given right to experience it. And that's pretty much it. That's the gist of it. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please press the like button, subscribe to the channel, press the notification bell, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace and love always.